with you yet. Look at that. It's your little friend. Let's walk the side together, shall we? No. It's game over for both of you.
No. Just for me. I'm bad. And that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
No,
Is unlike most other NATO donations. Most donations that came from NATO were of relatively old equipment, such as refurbished Soviet-era tanks and artillery. And NATO started giving Ukraine more advanced weapons, but even then, most were developed by the end of the 20th century. For example, the first batch of F-16 aircraft that Ukraine has been asking for since the start of the war was only sent at the beginning of 2024. Even then, the actual aircraft came from combined donations from European countries that already secured deals with the US to be provided with F-35s. As such, the donations were essentially obsolete aircraft that would have been tossed out of the air forces anyway.
Okay, so basically what we're all giving them is our trash. All right. We're literally giving them things that will cost twice as much to get rid of, because remember, there's asbestos, lead, mercury, all of those toxic and hazardous materials that have to be dealt with before we can dismantle the planes, before we can turn them into scrap metal. And that's what we're giving them. I want you to think about that as you complain about the billions and billions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money that's being wasted. Oh, I also, just in case anybody noticed, you know what? Let me back this one up just a little bit.
2024. Even then, the actual aircraft came from combined donations from European countries that already secured deals with the US to be provided with F-35s. As such, the donations were essentially obsolete.
Oh, that. This next segment is about it is technically about drugs in Syria. The difference between methamphetamine and, say, VX, mustard gas, phosgene, is the type of product you're producing. Ironically enough, recreational drugs, or medical drugs for that matter, are more complex to produce, because with phosgene, you just want to kill somebody. That's it. You want them dead. With recreational drugs, you definitely want them alive to come back and buy more from you later on. So let's see what this lady has to say.
After researching the Captagon for many years and really assessing the amount of Captagon factories like this, it's really amazing to finally see footage from inside of these facilities. When it comes to assessing just how many there are, we saw that there are numerous industrial scale factories and warehouses like these, concentrated around Latakia, Aleppo, Douma, Damascus, as well as quite a few small scale.
Okay, so I hope you caught that, but just in case, I'm going to back it up.
Aleppo, Douma, Damascus, as well as quite a few small-scale factories.
So those were all Syrian cities. Now, uh, just to refresh your memory, the Syrian government collapsed uh, uh, just a few days ago, not quite 2 weeks ago. In less than 2 weeks. All right. So maybe we could say 3 weeks since the start of the offensive to the time you're watching this. And I want to point something out. Saddam Hussein had months of warning. Bashar al-Assad only had, well, hours, really.
Factories that are quite mobile and can cross the border between Syria and Lebanon. It's very difficult to put a number on just how many there are.
What did she say? Let's hear that again.
And can cross the border between Syria and Lebanon. There's quite a few small-scale factories that are quite mobile and can cross the border between Syria and Lebanon.
Oh my, did she just say mobile facilities for the production of illicit drugs? Huh. Now it's kind of funny. I remember Saudi Arabia and Iran together accused Iraq of producing methamphetamine, which Captagon is a methamphetamine, one I'd never heard of before all of this. That's okay. Um, Somewhere around 1995 or 96. Wow, that's an interesting detail, isn't it?
It's very difficult to put a number on just how many there are in the South, but at least in the North, we expect that there to be over at least 10 large-scale industrial factories. It's possible, though, as this was just reported, that many of the regime's members, as well as some of their allies, tried to disassemble some of these factories as the regime was being ousted in the last few days of the offensive.
Well, now, ain't that interesting? In the last few hours of the offensive, they tried to, quote, disassemble some of these facilities. You know what? What they did was they tried to burn it to the ground. And it didn't quite work out. Now, that's elsewhere in the story, and there'll be a link in the description to this, the full version. I wonder, is it at all possible, with months of warning, that Saddam realized that this thing was coming, period, end of discussion, and maybe decided to disassemble, although much more uh, comprehensively, his facilities? I don't know. That might be possible. Let's look into that. No. Let's go along with this no WMD's lie that I've been hearing for the last 21 years. All right. The fact that I was exposed to the residues of some of these chemical weapons, that's total. That's a total myth. That never happened. And there was no Liberian flagged container ship off the coast of California that year. That didn't happen either. No. God, no. Don't believe that. That would be insane. All right, this last story is actually pissing me off. All right. Um, the photo to our right is the guy that shot Brian Thompson. I won't say his name. Fuck this guy. All right. Fuck this guy. He committed murder, period, end of discussion. The fact that so many people are cheering him when they should be condemning him in no uncertain terms. Pause. If after the trial, if it's proven that, yeah, he was the shooter, he should be condemned not only in no uncertain terms, but I mean, I think I'm being rather kindly and compassionate when I say bring back the brazen bull. Now let's take a look at this story.
The nature of the threats, we would also be asking for GPS without threats conditions to protect the community.
With her head in her hands, Brianna Boston learned she would be held in jail on $100,000 bond. The Polk County judge adding the bond was appropriate given the, quote, status of our country.
It's not like she's a child. She's 42 years old, so we're not dealing with a child here. She shouldn't.
I'm only 47, so I'm only 5 years older than her. 10 years ago, I would have known better than to say something like this. And I'm very much mentally ill. I'm prone to say exactly what I think. And I would have still understood, yeah, that's not okay.
Certainly know better.
Lakeland Police Chief Sam Taylor says his department was contacted by the FBI Tuesday. Authorities say in a recorded phone call about a denied insurance claim, Boston told a Blue Cross Blue Shield employee, quote, delay, deny, depose. You people are next, end quote. The language matches the words police say were written on the shell casings found at the United Healthcare CEO's murder scene in New York City.
We will take this very seriously, and we will put you in jail if you do something like this. It is not a joke.
According to Boston's affidavit, the mother of three told police she did not own firearms and was not a danger to anyone. But she added, healthcare companies played games and deserved karma because they are evil. Similar to the accused shooter in Manhattan, Boston is getting support online from people who say that she was just sharing her opinion and should be protected by.
Okay, your right to swing your fist very much stops at my nose. Your right to be pissy-faced very much stops when you make a statement that you are going to kill me. All right? I know insurance companies are unpopular. I don't like my insurance company either. And that's the VA. I'm not even having a bad dream of saying I'm going to kill these people. That would be stupid. I belong in prison. And to do it is even more outrageous. I don't know how you can think that that's okay under any circumstances. But you know what? Those of you that have been defending this guy and cheering him on and making memes about, girls in the future going back and telling him, don't go to McDonald's. Okay. Guys in the future going into the past and telling him, don't go to McDonald's. Okay. Yeah. This is the inevitable result. You created an environment where this woman thought this was a good idea. It's going to get worse before it gets better, because for every one person who has this idea, there's 10 more that had it or that does something like this. There's 10 more that thought it, and there's going to be at least one more who does it. And that's not okay. Murder, retaliation, vendetta, whatever word you want to put here, is not okay under any circumstances. Gets a little bit worse than this, folks. All right. The first purpose of the Second Amendment was to enable the people to defend themselves against unlawful force. This was unlawful force. The Thompson shooting was unlawful force. This was a threat to use that force. I don't understand how your minds work that we got into this position. This should have been condemned in the absolute strongest possible terms. And yet, instead, here we are. Maybe if you pull your fucking heads out of your asses, you might catch on.
The gun is played a The gun has played a critical role in history, an invention which has been praised and denounced, served hero and villain alike, and carries with it moral responsibility. To understand the gun is to better understand history. It was the world's first specialized gun, created